guys? It's Matthew coming to you from the porch again. So we got a really special episode this week of the Deep Listening Sessions. So my good friend Theron Brown invited me to do a version of the program for the Rubber City Jazz Fest, which was a huge honor, and it's just been super cool to see how Theron has adapted the festival to the COVID times and kept this awesome thing going. So yeah, the conversation with Theron was beautiful. You know, he wanted me to also play some of my music on both ends of the program. So it'll start out with a guided meditation, and me and Chris Coles will be playing a song for you, and then we'll be playing at the end as well. So much I can say about Theron, but you know, without getting too far into it, the thing that I really respect about him the most is his humility. And don't let this guy fool you. You know, he carries himself around very humbly, but he makes a lot of things happen, and he really has a genuine heart of service. And the things that he does with his artistry and his organizational skills and the different things he puts on here are out of this genuine desire to cultivate a supportive community around here. So that kind of lies at the heart of our discussion, and what sort of barriers, you know, he's met in his drive to set that up around here, just due to the fact, you know, of who he is as a black man. So enjoy this program. I had an absolute blast doing it. Thanks so much. So we're going to start this program off with some music, just to center and calm the mind a little bit. So wherever you're at right now, if you're able to just pause, if you're able to sit and close your eyes, if you're able to even lie down and just take a little break from the madness that is 2020 right now, now is an opportunity for you to do that, to get into a bit more of a spacious place within yourself. So me and my dear friend Chris Coles on saxophone are going to facilitate that for you with this first song. It's called Samadhi.
Yes.
Ow! So we're here tonight to cultivate what was taught to me as a conscious listening space. You know, I've been having these conversations with different friends of mine in the Black community around here about, what their experience has been dealing with racism in their lives. And a conscious listening space is a little bit different than what, we might usually do. Things are crazy right now. It's a really tumultuous environment. Everybody is pretty revved up for a lot of reasons. We're confused. We're trying to make sense of the madness in the world right now. And so, a lot of heated discussions, we can very easily find ourselves in that place where we're just waiting for someone else to be done talking so we can spit our viewpoint out there. And that type of conversing, even if it might be on a productive topic, is not really conducive to any sort of progress happening. If you're not hearing the person in front of you, if you're not really hearing them, then you're not really doing them any honor. You're not learning, you're not growing, you're not expanding. We're not closer to any sort of solution. So a conscious listening space involves really tuning in to what the other person is saying and tuning into your own responses internally, your emotions, your thoughts, and just observing those, quieting those, and really tuning into the other person so that when they're done sharing, when they're done expressing, you can respond a little bit more authentically with validation to them rather than just, spitting out your rebuttal that you're just, really pumped to get out there. So conscious listening space, we have an opportunity to practice that tonight. Is something I've been working on a lot through all this, especially with the people that make me angry. That's the most important people just to practice it with. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. I'll be having this conversation with Theron Brown and Chris Coles. And just to kind of echo what you said, Theron, I think it's really awesome to see, us all as school buddies, what we've gone on to do and our projects. And so, having said that, I'm just super grateful to be here. I'm really grateful to you, man, for coming forward and being willing to share your experience and being part of this whole thing. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Yeah. So as far as leading things off, man, Theron, I've seen you be a visionary organizer and artist since we've gotten out of school. I've seen you have ideas, go after things, and make them happen. And it's, I really see how hard you've worked, man, and how inclusive, you want to be with all these things that you're creating. And I'm also really aware of the fact that, as a Black man in America, you're going to meet some more challenges trying to bring your visions and your dreams about for your life than someone like me would. So in the context of this festival and all the work you've put in to make this happen for 5 years now, I'm curious what you've dealt with, what difficulties you've dealt with in bringing all of this about just because of the person that you are.
Yeah. To joke real quick, money. First things first. That's what it takes to make things roll. And I say that with force. Money, that's at the top of this thing. And the second thing is sacrifice. It's funny because people that know me this is hard to talk about the things I do because I try to be as selfless as possible and just make things happen.
And I appreciate that about you, man. You are very humble.
Well, it's that comes from the teachings from my daddy when I was growing up in church.
Shouts out to Dad
and my mama. Yeah, shouts out to them. GACC. Having those two things at the top, I think helps me to push through the most. The other thing I think about as being a black man and being realistic in today's time is that I have 2 children, right? And they're black. My wife's black, and they're very young right now. And all I'm seeing is me first working for them to set them up, to establish them so they'll be good, so they can make choices that they want, so that they can have the choice to go to school, or if they have some craft they do and they just want to excel and just study with some, specialists in that in London. We have the money to, so I want to be able to set them up first and foremost. So my family next, as a black man, I feel that giving to the kids and our youth is very important. So the work with Open Tone, that's why the Jazz Fest, that's all glamorous and beautiful and fun, and we get together and we party and it's a good time. But the real work is with Open Tone, where we are able to do this so that people will contribute, so that these kids can take this over when I'm done with it. You see, now we're setting up something called a culture community. Not just a culture, but a community that's involved in it, that knows what's going on, everybody's aware, and stuff just happens, just like this right now. Like this festival, we started off planning earlier in the year for a full celebration. 5th year, we're going to go hard, go downtown. I was talking to the city about getting roller coasters. They shut me down. That's cool. But, we were going to go.
We'll stay on them.
Yeah. Well, Mayor Horrigan, where you at? We'll get there. But, I had all these plans, and then COVID happened, and, we couldn't get together and meet everybody. I just gave space. Let's just put it away. We got other things to worry about. And then, yes, George Floyd, Ahmaud, all these things happen with that, and then let's put it away. We got to focus on other things. This is more important. And then I wasn't going to do the festival, and I thought about it. I was like, no, the kids need this festival, because what have I said in the beginning? This is an open platform that has no restrictions for our musicians, because it's ran by a musician. So that's why we can have this conversation right now, because it's important for people to hear us and know that we care about this in our community enough to speak about it. So me in this position has never been about me. As a matter of fact, I wish I didn't have to do this. And that, don't take it the wrong way. I love it, and it's very thrilling, and I get a rush out of it because it moves quick. But this festival isn't about me. It's about you guys make it happen. Everybody from AV Club to Chris Coles to you, Matt, to Flacco, to Dan Wilson, everybody that performed, and in the past festivals. And me as a visionary, I'm just seeing it as this, like you said, a community cultural thing that will, it takes time for people to get on board and for it to grow. Mm-hmm. Just like these issues that we're seeing take time to, figure it out. Right. Because there's some fundamental stuff we got to deal with. I always
internally.
Man, people need to start looking at themselves first. Mm-hmm. And then we can start addressing each other, because that's where it starts. If this ain't right, we can't talk about nothing. Mm-hmm. Because this isn't open to hear what you have to say, what I have to say. We've already pressed the mute button.
Yeah.
So the stuff you're talking about with SEER music, taking some time, that's what everybody needs to do right now. We have the time. You can't go nowhere. You shouldn't be going to, let me stop. You can't go to bars and stuff, but you got to be safe about it. But take this time. It's kind of a thing we need to kind of slow down and figure out ourselves,
Yeah, it is a fantastic opportunity to do something that is very uncomfortable if you're not used to it, which is looking inward, pausing, being with yourself, And when I first started meditating, I was shocked at all the madness I was experiencing inside.
Mm-hmm.
But that led to me realizing why I was suffering so much. It was my own fault. It was the own crazy games I was playing internally with myself. And just to kind of circle back to what you're saying, right now you get on social media, you see a lot of blaming and finger pointing. And while calling out racist behavior is an important part of the process, I think an even more important part of the process is deep introspection about any sort of racist programming that may have subtly made its way into our minds or belief systems. Because it can be very, very subtle. Very subtle.
Yep.
But I want to point something out with what you said, man. I feel like, to me, you've been a really shining example of having just a heart of service, man. Because I can see down to every action that you take that you're not doing this to glorify the name of Theron.
The name of the Lord.
I know and I feel from, knowing you for all these years and seeing how you carry out this whole thing, that you're doing this to serve your community and to bring people together, to provide the next generation with a pathway to realize their dreams and talents, because there is a lot of adversity with trying to make that happen. So I'm actually gonna, and forgive me if you feel like I'm cornering you a bit here, but I'm gonna circle back to that question because you dodged me a little bit.
I did.
But I heard a lot of beautiful things that you said.
Okay.
But did you? I guess what I'm curious about, man, is if in your efforts to do this, to realize this vision of setting up a community, all the things we just talked about. Did you find some resistance in doing that just because of who you were?
Yeah. I would. Okay. So this is interesting. I felt that people knew who I was and associated me with, community things already. And some people know my story. I moved to New York for a minute and came back. Got married, all that stuff, settled in Akron. And when I got back, that's when I was blessed with the opportunity to do the movie, the jazz festival. So a lot of things were happening to help me get certain stuff together. But in all honesty, there was kind of that, I don't want to call it even resistance, maybe skepticism at first. Because, there's this new cat he's been around, but he's new. He's got, he's dealing with some money and he's putting on this thing. So I know people watching me, whatever, but, and maybe had questions about motives and things like that. And we're talking about big dollars for sponsorships and matching dollars. I already have one big amount, so I have to raise another big amount to make this thing happen. But luckily, there's people in our community that I knew who to go to that would make that process smooth, the trust factor, right? Because when you see this, and I'm coming to meetings and shirts and, because I'm dealing with kids and stuff now. Now people are cool with it. Now I know people in the community, but back then at first, I'd had to dress up and, think about it. It would be in the back of my head.
Yeah. Like what different extra mile might you have to go to? To get the trust or work around the skepticism.
To do something beautiful, right? For nobody but everybody. So. Yes, I didn't mean to dodge that question, but yes, there were obstacles and those thoughts were in the back of my mind. They're still in the back of my mind. I am careful about who I revisit. Maybe I'm just canceled or I get the vibe like, okay, they don't want to mess with me, but so.
Yeah. Well, I think an important thing to highlight from what you shared there is that there is support. There are people who, are not going to have discriminative attitudes towards, minorities who want to realize an artistic vision to serve their community. So, in lieu of the Jazz Fest spirit, I would hope that message would go out to the youngsters that like there is support out there, and if they can find it, to help their dreams come about, to stay at it.
Yeah.
To stay at it.
And that's what it's about, man. And like I said earlier, I know how things move with generations. Like there's going to be a point where I'm not hip enough for this, and there needs to be another young mind that goes ahead and takes it over and keeps the flow going. That's the same kind of thought process that can go along with America too. We're stuck in kind of this old thought process, right? That needs to die.
Yeah.
The idea of racism has to pass away so that the younger kids don't know what that means. If there's no definition, there's nothing to explain. It doesn't exist. It hasn't died. We have to kill it. We have to kill racism.
Any thoughts on what that process looks like on the macro level? And we'll deal with that first, and then I always like to look at things from the macro and the micro. Like, what's the big vision? Like the greater path of yoga is true, like self-realization. The micro is what are you doing in the moment to be more mindful. Same thing in this process here. So what does that process look like on the macro level?
I think at every point, every moment, try at the front of your head to place the word grace. Every situation you approach, say grace first. If you're getting hot about something, say grace, and understand that maybe that person woke up and is doing something wrong, and he had a little mix up because his son did something to him. So that's why y'all got in an argument at the grocery store, and you don't need to go to race for that. It's grace. You can handle things gracefully. Don't shoot the man when he's just right there, and you can restrain him. There's more of you there. You can talk. You can use your communication. I have 2 children who I am teaching to communicate. It's the first things you learn so that you can get through life and not hurt yourself. So that you can get through life and be able to share things with other people. Not these actions. We need to slow down and think about grace first. Every time. Before I even correct my kids, sometimes I have to say, they don't know. You have to learn racism.
That's a taught skill.
It's taught.
That's a taught skill for sure, yes.
That's the part that kills me is I have 2 kids. And
If we stop teaching racism through our behavior and attitudes, then it will die out.
It sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
2 + 2 has always been 4. Sometimes we get imaginative and change it, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
So I think my big thing is I try to present grace, act in grace. It's an old school word that doesn't get used too much. Handle situations like that, and I think we'll see it die down. And as far as racism, people just got to start looking inside and dealing with themselves, because that's a problem. You got a problem if you're racist.
Examining maybe where that behavior was learned from.
Yes.
Yeah. The big parallel that I've been drawing, as I've taken a deeper dive into all of this summer, is just like yoga teaches us that
we develop unconscious patterning in our minds that colors the way that we perceive the world. And that programming is not actually you. Your true nature is a loving, accepting being. Our true nature is not evil. It doesn't make these arbitrary distinctions that degrades one another. That's all learned behavior.
That's right.
So if you look at it in a yogic perspective, a racist idea, a racist attitude is just a program implemented into your consciousness that is causing you to see reality in an unclear way. So it takes a little bit of the, it takes a little bit of the thing out of you're a racist. It's like, okay, you've got a racist program running. Let's get that out of there so you can be actually your real self, and then we can really see each other and get along and actually share space as humans.
Absolutely.
So that at least for me has been one productive way of figuring out how to negotiate this and to figure out how to approach people who do have deep racist programming within themselves. It's like, I know there's good in there.
Yeah.
We just got to get to it.
Yeah, we're all humans, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, another thing I've been really curious about, man, you've traveled the world with a lot of different prestigious artists in a lot of different places. And I'm kind of wondering if it was really eye-opening to go to different places and experience being received differently as an American black man.
Yeah.
And if that changed your perspective on how, racism functioned or, all that.
Yeah, the first time I really went out of the country was when I went to Japan. I went all over, up and down. And I just remember the folks there, they loved my hair. They would come up to me and just touch it. And it wasn't this long then. I actually had it shorter. But they would come up and touch. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, I'm exotic, But it wasn't, it was just curious, It's like, oh, real life. Hair, like this is wool, sheep's wool.
Yeah.
And then my next experience that I really loved was when I got to go to India. And you've been.
I have.
How many times?
Only once.
Oh, only once.
But
okay.
I will go back.
Yeah. I think
the time is right.
Twice, maybe 3 times. Twice, and. Shout outs if any of my friends from India is watching too. They're all lovely. But I loved India. It was so much culture and love there. And, but there were certain areas you couldn't go. And they would look at me and bad things would happen. Like anywhere. But, so I think it's the same kind of caution. Now, when I was younger, and going to certain places like Japan, I was much younger. I was more careless and didn't really pay attention to that. But as the years went, maybe that was 6 years in between, 7 years. Oh, I was watching, I was super careful in India every time. Just more mature and aware of what's going on. So, but my experiences in other countries were always good. When I was traveling here around this country, that's when stuff could be strange. Certain parts of the country, for example, I was on the Glenn Miller Orchestra, which back in the day was all white band, so that's interesting for me. I dropped out of school, went on the road with them, make some money, and I did go back to school. And yeah, certain parts of America, oh my gosh, people would look at me, and at the time I had my hair cut because I had to, and I'd wear a do-rag on the bus, getting on and off the bus. Some of these cities, these little towns, ooh, yeah, I'd go right back on the bus, or straight to the hotel. I'm not going to get nothing to eat. I'm ordering in. that's real. I'm not leaving. You know what I'm saying? I'm not leaving. So yeah, that's been my experience traveling. I stay to myself.
Yeah, which should not have to be that way.
Shouldn't have to be that way
for anybody. You know, throughout all of this, I'm trying to see how daily I can contribute towards a vision of this country where it doesn't have to be that way, where people can be as they are and be welcomed and celebrated. So on the micro level, I think that starts with all of us examining ourselves to see what attitudes we have towards people that are different than us, so that when we are in our lives and in communities and we're having interactions with people who aren't like us, we can check those programs at the door and see people as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, I would love to continue. I did get the 2-minute marker, so I think we do have to
Production
wrap.
team.
But I think we may have to continue this at one point.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm down, man. Let me know.
So, you know, before we close out with another brief song here, again, man, I want to thank you not only for doing this today, but just for being the person that you are and having this level of dedication towards serving this community, to providing a pathway for the generation underneath us to realize their dreams, to cultivate their skills, to have somebody to look up to who's doing it. So just know, man, we see you.
I
We
appreciate
appreciate
it.
you. You work hard.
Thanks so much, man. I do have to say there's a lot of other folks that help out too. You know, I can call on some people and they, you know, come right there and fill in the gaps. So, but thank you. Seriously, it means a lot.
Absolutely, man. So this piece that we're gonna do to close here is a simple tune, just simply called Shanti, which in Sanskrit means peace.